you've just mentioned Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of the bones of contention is the fact that, okay, we have one sector celebrating the Mawlid and the other sector not celebrating the Mawlid. And very often, sadly, the preacher is being put in a spot because this preacher says, you shouldn't be celebrating it, or you should be celebrating it, and that becomes an issue. What happens here?
I think let's be fair. Let those who want to do it go ahead, and those who don't want to do it, abstain from it. As simple as that. Those who believe it's a good idea, please explain to people that it's a good idea and why. And those who believe it's a bad idea, please go ahead and explain to the people that it's a bad idea and why. But let's not start pointing fingers at each other. I feel that one of the causes of extremism is when we start labeling each other as Muslims kafir. Someone disagrees with you and they call you a kafir. I think that's the beginning of a huge problem because it sows the seeds of hatred. In what sense? In Islam, when you call someone who was Muslim a kafir, it really means perhaps this person is now engaged in apostasy. Perhaps they have reneged from the faith and so on. And some people might misinterpret the laws of the Sharia, take it in their own hands and attack such a person. So I believe that if people do call another person a kafir, it gives way to creating a huge problem. And if you want to ask, for example, or someone may ask that, well, who does this? I think from all parties, there are people who are guilty. And this is why a person like myself, I get along with people who are from all different sects on condition that they are mainstream. Mainstream meaning we tolerate each other. We have, as you know, we have the Sufis, we have the Sunnis, we have the Hanafis, the Shafi'is, whoever else, we have the Salafis, we have so many different people and sects. In fact, I can't even count, there are so many sects. But we get along with each other on condition that we're mainstream. The minute one says, this person's a total kafir, that's it. What happens? That is the root. So I remember when I was young, when I was much younger, we had a group of Sunnis. Sunnis, each one calls themselves a name. So some call them Sufis, some say Sunnis and so on. Yes, and some are moderate, some are not, some are extreme. And you had a group who always said everyone else who doesn't believe that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is omnipresent, is a kafir. They wouldn't greet, they wouldn't eat the meat, they wouldn't participate, and the numbers have grown. What about them? They have promoted their faith in a way that everyone else is an enemy. Their faith is based on curse. If that's the case, we need to solve the matter. The same applies on the other hand. Those who want to purify the deen, yes, they have every right to believe it's wrong to do this and wrong to do that. They even have the right to preach. But do they have the right to start labeling people a kafir, for example? I don't greet you, I don't look at you, I don't talk to you. When then are you going to be able to promote what you believe? Like as a Muslim, a mainstream Muslim, for example, I would love to seize every opportunity to reach out to those who don't think like me, or those perhaps who are not Muslim. Reach out to them in a beautiful way. They are invited to Islam just by my interaction, without even me saying a word. Sometimes they ask me a question. And that question, the answer of it, sometimes is so powerful that they begin to scratch their heads and they say, I've never looked at it this way. I didn't know Muslims thought this way. So it's an opportunity to clear the mind. But if I look at them as enemies in the way that, this person, I'm not going to greet them, I'm not going to talk to them, I think we're defeating the purpose. That is what is the root of intolerance. Whenever I travel, I make it a point to greet people. So if we greet the non-Muslims, what about the others who are Muslim? This is where I never see the sense in this. We greet the non-Muslims, but when it comes to a Muslim of another sect, we don't want to greet them. We don't want to acknowledge them. We feel that this person here should be, attacked. And what has happened as a result is, now that the nations are, and this is a very important point, now that the nations are combating ISIS, and now that the nations are concerned about security, they would rely on information from Muslims about what's going on, common sense. So some of the Muslims are sadly seizing the opportunity to use the governments to nail somebody they disagree with. That's it, or they're jealous of. So if I have a gripe, I say, oh, wow, right. Now I'm happy because I'm going to tell the government this person is this and that, and they're a threat to the peace and stability of this. It's not because they are a threat, because the government's asking me, and I'm telling them that, look, just block this guy, stop this guy. These are the bad people, but they're not the bad people. And I think this is what's going on in a lot of countries. I mean, I've studied some situations in Western nations, and I've seen little groups of Muslims crop up and lie against other Muslims. Just say that these people are bad, they're extremists, their beliefs are the root of all evil and so on, and they are not. In fact, themselves, they would be so bad in their extreme form, and they are present within themselves. So I think governments need to really become aware of the fact that this internal politics among Muslims must not divert them from what is right. That's what I feel.
Explain to us, what is a Wahhabi? This term is being bandied all over, and everybody who doesn't believe, what I believe in is a Wahhabi. Just what is a Wahhabi?
I think, as you just said, I'll take the last part of what you said, that everyone who doesn't believe in what I believe in is a Wahhabi. That's what it's come to. So what a Wahhabi actually is has become irrelevant, because today, if I disagree with you, there is a dua after the salah that is said in a lot of places. In fact, all Muslims say it. The difference is how it should be said. Allahumma anta salam. It's something the Muslims would know. After the prayer, there is a little dhikr, or whatever you'd like to call it, a dua. Everyone agrees that yes, there is a place for it immediately after the prayer, and there is a specific way that it should be read. But in fact, whether it should be in congregation or singularly is a question. So I found those who say that, okay, we want to do it singularly, they would attack those who do it collectively, and those who do it collectively would attack those who do it singularly. Yet they're all reading the same dua. I believe those who want to say it, aloud, it's up to them. I might believe they're wrong. To be honest with you, I may believe that, look, it's not the ideal way of doing things. But I cannot suddenly just label them and start, promoting hatred against them. I don't greet them and so on. And what's happened is this group will call the other one Wahhabi. These are Wahhabis. Yet that's not the case.
But why is it so petty? It's the same dua.
Yes, well, it's become petty over time, and I think it's the way we've dealt with it on either side that has actually caused the problem. I may be wrong, but that's what I feel. Similarly, getting back to this Wahhabi thing, in essence, just to educate the people, there was a reviver of the religion of Islam. When we say reviver, we mean one who came forth and said, look, we've added too much into the faith, and let's try and revive it by going back to the pure form of Islam. Like I said, all religions have this. So you have among the Christians, among the Jews, among the Hindus, those who try to revive the pure version of that faith. So there was a man by the name of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. He happened to be in the Middle East, in the Arabian Peninsula, what we would call Saudi Arabia today, Hijaz at the time, right? And when he came in, he was quite strict in the way he did things. So he wanted to purify the faith. And when people differed, he obviously was very hard in the way he changed things. He had authority because he teamed up with one of the political figures, and the two together happened to go and correct people where they were wrong in terms of faith. So as a result, Al-Wahhab is a name of Allah. It means the giver of gifts, the one who gives. So if we say Al-Wahhab, it's actually a name of Allah. But if we say Wahhabi, it's supposed to be connected to this particular person and the way he purified things and so on. However, the term Wahhabi today is used to refer to anyone who does things that our forefathers didn't do. Or should I say, anyone who does things against what our forefathers did. Like, for example, you raised the issue of the Mawlid, for example. If a person does it, it's one of those things. It's probably come from the forefathers. If a person doesn't do it, immediately they'll say Wahhabi. But there are so many people who say we're not Wahhabis, but we believe that we won't do this. It's like music, for example. There are distinct opinions when it comes to music, with the vast majority of mainstream Muslims across the globe actually believing that anything besides drums is not supposed to be. But at the same time, we do have culturally a lot of music has come in.